This is The Week on WURD, a podcast featuring a roundup of the most interesting, informative, and entertaining interviews from WURD Radio. You can listen to WURD Radio anytime, anywhere on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Give us a play and download it today. In this episode, Dr. Starletta DuPois, acclaimed actress of stage, film, and television, joined the Midday Break Room with Tiffany Bacon to reflect on her decades-long career, spanning more than 90 films and television projects, including The Notebook and Waiting to Exhale. She discussed her latest role in One Battle After Another, where she stars alongside Leonardo DiCaprio, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, and Chase Infiniti. And Michael Coard, attorney and founder of Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, joined Evening Words to discuss efforts to protect Black history at Philadelphia's President's House. But first, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner joined Wake Up With WURD with Solomon Jones to respond to the Trump administration's deployment of the National Guard in Democratic-led cities, many governed by Black mayors.
Joining us now, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner. District Attorney Krasner, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Mr. Jones?
I'm doing well. So we are seeing the President of the United States sending National Guard troops to cities around the country, and all of them seem to be Democratic cities that are Black-led. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, so many thoughts, although he is talking, so many thoughts. First of all, it is against the Constitution and the laws of the United States to use the military for the wrong purpose, whether that's National Guard or actually U.S. military. And that includes to send it into domestic peacekeeping activity without a real emergency. It's a real problem when you have troops rolling up and down cities trying to pretend that they're police officers, a job for which they are not trained, and training is meaningful, a job at which they do not have experience. And it's a real problem above all else, something we guard against in the Constitution, because it is the pathway to dictatorship. This is how you take over countries. You turn the military against your own people. So the more that President Trump tries to make that look normal, the more I think that's exactly what he's up to.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, and I've spoken a lot about trying to normalize this because we have a midterm election coming up. Typically in a midterm election, the party that's in control loses seats. The legislature likely to flip unless you do, drastic things. Now, I'm wondering if these troops are going to remain, if we allow them to, through the election next year. What do you think?
Well, it's a really good question. One thing that is very encouraging is that the mayor in Chicago and the governor in Illinois took a hard stand. The governor even said, and I quote, "Nobody wants you here," unquote, to the president. And next thing we knew, after weeks of Trump talking about sending troops into Chicago, he did not. He then starts talking about New Orleans, and then he's talking about Memphis.
Yeah.
What does it mean? I think the truth is that he's becoming more and more unpopular with sensible people who are capable of actually reconsidering their position. He is the most unpopular president right now that we've had at this phase in his term in over 80 years. Business owners in Washington, D.C. are upset because they got stomped. People wouldn't come out. They wouldn't go to restaurants. They weren't doing tourism as a result of the president of the United States bad-mouthing that city and talking about how, it was a crime hellhole. Well, it wasn't. It was actually doing really well compared to other years historically, as most cities are. So when you have a president tearing down his own cities in the eyes of the public, making it hard for businesses to work and for servers to get their tips, when you have all that stuff going on, it gets to be pretty unpopular with those who have to live through it. So I'm hopeful that this bag of tricks will end at some point. I'm not sure, but I'm hopeful. And it does seem like there have been examples of Trump quitting on some course he goes down. This is why they have the phrase TACO, T-A-C-O, Trump always chickens out. It could be that if we all make it very, very clear that we are not about to have a dictator in the United States and that we're not going to allow the president to just keep breaking laws and violating the Constitution, it may be that he backs down on some of these efforts.
We're talking with Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner about National Guard troops coming to cities around the country, and all of the cities that he's chosen are Democratic majority cities led by black mayors. That's what's happening. And so I'm curious as to what you think in the wake of the death of Charlie Kirk, who was a right-wing activist. You know, does this change the dynamic with what he's trying to do with sending National Guard troops into cities?
Well, you know, obviously the murder of Charlie Kirk is a horrific crime. You know, this is something that I just want to be real clear. No politician ever should be justifying the murder of another human being. When one, you know, even if it's someone you disagree with, or even if it's someone who you think has spread the poison, you know, by advocating that everybody have guns, by talking about how Sandy Hook, the slaughter of children, was essentially no big deal. And Charlie Kirk did that. That's no excuse. We cannot have Luigi Mangione, you know, shooting people down because they're upset about what that person has done, and we can't have this. Having said that, does it change the dynamic? I don't know. That remains to be seen. As usual, the Trump crowd is lying. They are describing this as if there's a pattern of activity against right-wing people, when we just saw centrist Democrats, you know, cut down and slaughtered in Minnesota. We see school shootings going on all the time. It's not just a pattern on one side. In fact, both assassination attempts on Trump were by people who used to support him. Okay, they weren't supporting him when they did what they did, but that was for whatever reason, you know, mental illness, disillusionment with what he was doing, Trump not keeping promises they thought he should keep, something like that. So I really think that that we have to all try our best not to have it become part of the dynamic. But make no mistake that there are people around Trump who actually do want a redo of a civil war, who actually do want a race war. They're called members of the Ku Klux Klan. They're called Proud Boys. And in case anybody forgot, Trump's grandpa was arrested with the Klan, and Trump has now been endorsed twice by the Ku Klux Klan, never said he didn't want it. You know, that's what we're dealing with here. So there are people there who have wanted riots in cities, who have wanted there to be violence and unrest because they see it as a way to kick it off. Kick what off? Well, what we're talking about, which is an excuse to hit the streets with tanks and try to take over the government of the United States and make sure we don't have any more elections.
So what do we do about it, in your view?
Well, that is a wonderful question. I think one thing we do is to be prepared. And I am delighted to let you know and your listeners know that the DA's office on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights of this week is going to be doing a series of town halls around the city. The announcement's going out today. These will be in houses of faith, different faiths. These will be in different locations around the city. And it's not going to be a politician event. This is not a bunch of, you know, electeds sitting up there just talking about their thoughts. This is actually going to be a conversation with community, with people who don't have a special title, you know, who weren't necessarily born with a silver spoon in their mouth. It's just going to be a conversation with Philadelphians, our bringing our ideas and asking Philadelphians to bring their ideas, their questions, their thoughts. I can tell you that a part of this will be just to apply some of the tactics that have worked in the past to try to stop dictators and try to stop injustice. And one of them is that you should be the light. You should bring the light. In other words, if there are troops or ICE agents doing things on the street, you take a video. You upload that video to a place where it can be kept. You keep a clear record of this stuff. You don't have to know in advance whether what's about to happen is illegal. The district attorney's office, you know, and other law enforcement can look at that video and determine it. But if we are all bringing the light, if we are all videoing what's going on, collecting this information, it is going to allow us, but also the rest of the world, to see what's actually going on. It's going to make it hard for agents who mask up to hide their identities in the long run. It's going to bring accountability. And hopefully what it will also do is deter bad behavior by anyone and everyone all at the same time. So certainly we'll be talking about that. Nothing new about the tactic of having photography and video at an effort to preserve people's civil rights. In many ways, the work that Dr. King did could not have been so successful if he had not had so many photographers around recording it in different ways. So that's one thing we can talk about. But we know that there are so many good ideas in this community, that Philadelphia is actually so smart and sophisticated about protecting democracy, protecting itself. We've been kicked around and we know how to kick back. That I think these will be important events, and I certainly hope that any of your listeners who'd like to come out will be joining us at these town halls.
Okay. Is there a list of where they are, and where can we find that list?
That announcement's going to come out today, but I will, before I get off this call, I'm going to pull it up so that I can go through them with you tomorrow night, Tuesday. The first one is going to be at the Salt and Light Church. I'll get you that address. But just keep going with your questions, Solomon.
Okay. All right. So Tuesday is going to be at the Salt and Light Church. And again, the DA's office is going to be doing a series of conversations with the community in houses of faith this week on how to apply some of these tactics that have worked in the past to deter the president from sending the National Guard here to the city of Philadelphia. Here's my question. Given that we're going to have the 250th anniversary here next year and so many other things, I mean, would it look normal to have the National Guard here during that time? And do you think that they would try to allow them to stay after the festivities are over?
I think there's almost no dirty trick that this man will pull. We are talking about a 34-time felon. We are talking about someone who surrounds himself with haters. So do I think it's possible? Absolutely. I think it's possible. But, it's up to us to make sure that he doesn't have a pathway to do that.
Absolutely.
So Solomon, the Salt and Light Church, that is Tuesday, September the 16th.
Yes.
Doors are going to open at 5:30, but the town hall begins at 6. This is not an all-night adventure. These things are only going to be about 75 minutes, maybe 90 minutes. That church, Salt and Light Church, is at 5736 Chester Avenue. That is the first one.
Yeah. And then we'll get the rest of the list when you make the announcement, and we'll announce it here on WURD. We do know that the first one is tomorrow night at the Salt and Light Church in Southwest Philadelphia. Doors open at 5:30. DA Larry Krasner, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're listening to The Week on Word.
Why is Word important to the community?
It matters to me because I was only successful truly through Black media. If we're just keeping it all the way on it, like if it wasn't for Black media, you wouldn't know who a Music Soul Child is. Please support your local Black media, all Black media, because this is the media that supports you.
We are giving voice to the community, and without the community, there will be no word. We are one and the same, and it is not a game. WURD.
This is The Week on Word, a podcast highlighting the top conversations on Word Radio. Make sure you look for and follow WURD Radio on social media. Up next, Dr. Starletta DuPois, acclaimed actress of stage, film, and television, joined the Midday Break Room with Tiffany Bacon. So right now, as we get into one of the final segments of today's program, it's time to introduce an actress from the area who is now in a film with Leonardo DiCaprio, Teyana Taylor, and Benicio del Toro. The film is called One Battle After Another, and my special guest joining us is Dr. Starletta DuPois. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Hi. Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Oh, girl, I am so blessed.
Yes.
And to be talking to you in my hometown Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is awesome.
Yes, and we know your face. You have been in so many films. Like you've been in over 90 films and TV projects like The Notebook, Waiting to Exhale, because you were the one telling Whitney, going after that man.
He's a good man.
He's
Savannah.
a good man, Savannah. And he was not a good man.
No. Never tell somebody that in real life.
How about that? Big Mama's House, Friday After Next, and the list goes on. You've won an NAACP Image Award for your performance, and it is just an honor to speak with you and to also know that you are from Philly. That's amazing. So what part of town did you grow up in?
I grew up all over Philly.
Okay.
I grew up, elementary school has kindergarten and ninth grade is 10 years. Starletta went to 9 schools.
My Lord.
My grandma was my saving grace. She sent me to Pine Forge. It's a black boarding school outside of Pottstown.
Okay.
So that's when my footsteps in education.
Yes.
Because previously you would think I would have dropped out. But I was determined. Grandma said education would be my way out.
Yeah.
And that's true.
That's amazing. So you that was the start, but how did you get into acting?
Well, I went to HBCU, Maryland State. It's now University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. And I was a biology major. But Marion Sujet used to come down to Maryland and do theater. And I would do plays, but one of them, Ennui's Medea, Hell Hath No Fury is a Woman Scorned. Yeah. Light bulb went on. I said, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to gamble on myself. I got my degree in biology, went to New York, studied acting, and started working. And was blessed to work with some of the finest folk, over the years. So
yes, I mean, I'm looking at the list. You've worked with Angela Bassett, James Earl Jones, Cicely Tyson, Ruby Dee, Danny Glover, Robert Duvall, Jack Nicholson, and Denzel.
Yep. Was his mom and Ricochet.
Wow. Yeah. That's right. You know what? I don't get to watch of all his movies, the ones that I don't see come up as often. That's one of the ones I don't see come up as often, but I just saw it recently. So that's amazing. So I love that you said, I got my degree in biology, but then still went to New York and got busy with theater, got busy with acting. What was the response like from your family when you said, yeah, I have this degree, but I'm going to do this?
My dad said, I don't know why you're struggling. You have an education. I just told him, Daddy, I'm not struggling. I'm living my dream. My mom, Princess Starletta DuPois, very well known there, Hearts and Hands Council for the Handicapped. Once she knew that this was in my blood, since she was a famous dancer before she got hurt, she supported me, and I just went on, and got a chance to do Richard Wesley's Mighty Gents and got nominated for a Tony Award. The first time out the chute, I said, oh my God.
Wow.
So it's been amazing. An amazing journey. And some of it I've chosen to come back home. My dad was ill, to care for him. And that's important too.
Yeah.
It's very important, family. And up to now, all of the wonderful people I've had an opportunity to work with, but also to be mentored by, like a Cicely Tyson, like a Ruby Dee. James Earl Jones has played my husband and my father. That's interesting.
Yeah, right. Right. How about that?
Yep. But leading me up to one battle after another.
Yes. And I want to hear all about it. We want the audience to hear all about it. I have to take a quick break. When we come out, Dr. Starletta DuPois, who is in the upcoming film, One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio. We're going to hear that story, when it's released, and a whole lot more when the Midday Break Room returns right after this. Welcome back. It is the Midday Break Room here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. I'm Tiffany Bacon in conversation with Dr. Starletta DuPois, a Philadelphia native who is an actress who has a wonderful resume and a new film that will be in theaters next week. It's called One Battle After Another. It's an action thriller starring Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, and oh, wow. Okay. All of a sudden, everything just went blank. Sorry. And that's what happens when technology fails you. And Leonardo DiCaprio. So thank you so much for joining us on the program today. So first, tell us a little bit about this film, One Battle After Another.
Well, it's about the revolutionaries, present day revolutionaries. And he is sort of, he's been one, but it's been a challenge. And all of the Teyana Taylor, my granddaughter, plays my granddaughter, Regina Hall, they're all revolutionaries. Chase Infiniti Payne, my great granddaughter, you'll see, becomes one herself. And how the story evolves. We've had a wonderful director, Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the best in the business. Steven Spielberg has seen the movie 3 times. He says it's wonderful. Very diverse cast and supporting players as well. And I was saying to him, because there's a line I have, I said, "You're not qualified for my granddaughter." You know what I mean? Looking at you, she comes from a whole line of revolutionaries. I'm one myself because I'm part of the civil rights movement. So at Maryland State, Princess Anne, Maryland, we were fighting the KKK front and center, back in the day in the late 60s. So this carried over. And one of the things that's said in this, because the last poets you hear them saying that the revolution is not going to be televised. And we've heard that adage over the years anyway. Yeah. But it's action packed. These cast members are phenomenal. I think that our audience will love it. And it's fast paced. It's 2 hours and 40 some minutes, but you don't know you're there for that period of time. That's how fast the pace is moving and all the action and different themes are being spoken about in the movie. So that's relevant to right now. What we're dealing with, ooh, baby, what we are dealing with right now. And someone told me they were tired. And I said, I'm a revolutionary. I'm part of SNCC, then, Dr. King's the nonviolent movement when I was in school and since. And I've experienced so much as a woman of color. I'm not tired. Because I have to make sure that the ones coming after me have the backbone and the courage to continue to fight. It's just that simple. And then the young ladies that are in the movie, they told me that they're standing on my shoulders. So all that I've experienced as an artist, paving the way for them, it's making it easier for them now. And I'm happy about that. That was why whatever it took Being an artist is not easy.
Yeah.
But if it's what you love, one yes makes you forget every no you've ever heard. So I'm still in there.
Wow. And I'm so curious. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing the piece about you not being tired. And I feel like we can talk for about 30 hours just on that alone, whether you're talking about what's happening politically or what's happening in the entertainment industry. As an older woman, we know that there's times when it's hard to get a role because there's just ideas of what women can play after a certain age or what women should play, period. What really keeps that fire going for everything? You gave us an example of it as far as like being revolutionary. But how do you really keep the fatigue away of repeating the same thing over and over again? Or how many times you have to battle the same subject? How does that not wear on you? I'm here to learn. I'm asking because I'm trying to learn.
I find things to do. One, I do speaking engagements so that I can relate to the younger folk and encourage them and be encouraged, because as much as elder would impart wisdom, you want to be open so that you receive it as well, because you guys have so much to teach me. And I've been able to stay in it because, one, I'm theater based, so I can always go back to do a play. Or I just finished doing a thesis project. I did do my MFA in theater at UCLA. And a young woman, we did her project last weekend with Angela Gibbs and Oba Babatunde. We knocked that thing out. Oba wrote the script for her. Miss Thing turned it in and marched on Friday. Got her master's in directing. So labors of love. There are pieces that I will do that no money is involved, but I'm continually learning my craft by doing my craft. And then I can stay in the game because I find other things to do. Like I'm trying to get the young ones to put me on TikTok talking about he's a good man, Savannah. I heard that 1,000.
Yeah.
That made me some passive income for mama later on. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so, but I stay encouraged, and I'm in what God has wanted me to do. And because of my faith, I'm always open to miracles. And one yes will make me forget every no I heard. So that's how I've been able to stay in there, because some people have dropped out. It's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, but anything you love, you will find a reason and a way to do it. So is that saying with?
Oh, no, that's perfect. I appreciate all of that, because yes, it can get difficult. It can get difficult to stay in it and even lose your way. Forget what you're doing it for. Forget the reason why you got involved in the business. When things get hard, when situations and the industry changes in a way where it's unrecognizable, and then it can be easy to get lost in that, to say, well, where is my place now? The things that used to be standards, the things that used to be upheld, a certain level of integrity in the work, it seems to be slipping away. So how do I fit in when I don't always agree with how things are done? And then, here comes a project that's like in alignment with your values, your skill set, your integrity level. And it's like, okay, jumping on board. But in between, not having that bitter taste in your mouth. That's what I think is pretty remarkable. And hearing your words, I think, would be inspirational to anyone, whether it's in the entertainment business or any other business, to say, you know what? Okay, let me let me hold on to something else. If this is what's meant for me, let me hold on to something so I can stay in it and re-find my way.
Yeah, and have a life. I adopted it at 55. I'm now a grandma. My grandson was born the first day we started shooting. When you guys see this film, Teyana comes home to her grandma, 9 months pregnant. I mean, literally ready to pop. And she does have the baby at home. Art imitating life. My grandson was born that day. So, but having a life, being able to separate the difference from your craft, your work, and your purpose. Why has God have you continually to be here? You spoke about when women get older, people put us in a box, but you don't have to stay in a box. I have stories to tell. I have testimonies of how I survived. You guys need to know that you can too. Not only survive, overcome, and blossom. And I'm getting ready to go to the dentist. I'm so glad this is a LOL. My tooth came out over the weekend.
Oh, no.
I said, oh, wow, I'm glad it didn't happen last week during the premiere and stuff. But I'm going this afternoon. And you see, I jumped on here.
Yes.
Because that's another thing as women. The beauty has to come from the inside out.
Amen.
Because time will fade whatever, maybe. Or you may get that much more lovely as you age because you're still lovely inside. And that little girl in you is still running around.
I love it. I love it. Bring it all the way back to the beginning, because in the beginning of the show, we were talking about childhood games and things we used to do that we don't see young people doing anymore. So thank you for bringing it full circle. Can you remind us again the name of the film so we can go and support you in the theater? One Battle After Another. It opens September 26th. IMAX, different forms of viewing. It's a Warner Brother project. And I think you guys will have a good time. Absolutely. Also, a great time. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt. Also starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, yeah. I should tell everybody. Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, Sean Penn, Wood Harris, my babies, Teyana Taylor, Regina Hall, Chase Infiniti Payne, new rising, and this movie is going to just explode for her. So, yes, it's a joy, and the cast is brilliant. Fantastic. You'll see that. The work, the cinematography is amazing. You'll see that too. Fantastic. Dr. Starletta DuPois, thank you so much for joining us today on the Midday Break Room. I wish you all the best. You're listening to The Week on WURD. Represent your favorite station in style. Look for Afrocentric tees, hoodies, tumblers, notebooks, mugs, and more. Just click the Shop tab at wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about Black Talk Media. You gotta look good. This is the Week on WURD podcast. To learn more about our programming, visit wordradio.com. That's WURD radio.com. Our last conversation for this episode features Michael Coard, attorney and founder of Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, in conversation with Dr. James Peterson on Evening Words.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome to this program Attorney Michael Coard, a criminal defense attorney and activist. Attorney Coard has more than 15 years of trial experience and has many years in his work to break barriers that discriminate and disenfranchise citizens in the African American community. Each Saturday, Attorney Coard can be heard right here on WRD Radio for his show, Radio Courtroom, where he delivers a perspective on handling legal situations that plague the growth and social stability in our region, offering the best of the best in legal advice for free. Joining us today to talk about the current president's plan to alter the first president's house site right here in Philadelphia. I'm happy to welcome to Evening Words Attorney Michael Coard. Attorney Coard, welcome to Evening Words.
I got to tell you, Dr. Peterson, the check is in the mail for that smooth promo. I should have recorded that, man. To just
I can do one for you here, bro. I can do one for you here right now. Now let's set it up.
Man, I need to just record that when people introduce me. Say, man, play this. Play this.
Oh, brother, I wish we were convening under more constructive and positive circumstances. But let's back up a little bit. For those any in our listening audience who are unaware of the work trajectory of the Avenging the Ancestors Coalition, lay that out for them, and then for folks who maybe have not been and visited the president's house site to understand the archival and historical materials there, representing the experience of enslaved Africans in this country. Can you do those two things? Tell us about ATTACK a little bit, and tell us about what the president's site is now before it gets altered.
Absolutely. Let me just tell you and your listening audience, Dr. Peterson, you're scooping a story that has not been covered by the media yet. It's exclusive now for WRD. It has to do with an event tomorrow. So I'm hoping folks get their pens and pads out, because WRD and Dr. James Peterson will be scooping an event taking place directly relevant to the President's House / Slavery Memorial, and essentially will have the ear of President Donald Trump tomorrow through an important subordinate. I'm going to break that down. Again, no news media outlet has gotten it yet. In fact, Dr. Peterson, it was kind of sort of confidential until yesterday. But I talked with the legal team and I'm like, can I just kind of put it out there? They say, go ahead, put it out there. So in a couple minutes, I'll do that. But let me first respond to your question. Here's the quick background in about 60 seconds. Back in 2002, a local scholar wrote an article about the discovery of America's first White House right here in Philadelphia. Now, it was called the President's House, the Executive Mansion, the Robert Morris Mansion, but under the Federal Residency Act of 1790, it served in effect as America's first White House. So we heard about that in 2002. That's the first thing of three things. Second thing, after we found out that America's first White House was here in Philadelphia, we found out that because the Liberty Bell Center was at 5th and Market, but had to move because it was too cramped, too congested, too crowded. They decided to move it to that 6th and Market Street site. That's the second thing. Black community heard about the first thing, no big deal. Heard about the second thing, no big deal. But then we found out the new site of the new Liberty Bell Center, 6th and Market, is not only where America's first White House stood, but George Washington enslaved black men, black women, and children right here in Philadelphia at America's first White House. Now, we knew he enslaved 316 at his Mount Vernon, Virginia plantation, but nobody knew about the 9 held illegally. I'll explain that later. The 9 held illegally here in Philadelphia. So ATTACK came into existence, and it's kind of interesting how we did it. Very quickly, I was doing a radio show. I announced it. I called people to a community event. Somebody said, hey, those are our ancestors. We need to do something about it. Somebody else said, we need to avenge. A third person said, ATTACK. I'm like, ATTACK? ATTACK. Makes no sense. Like, no, Mike, it's not that. It's ATAC. Avenging the Ancestors, and the C is for coalition. That's the birth of ATTACK back in June of 2002. We fought for 8 years, and on December 15, 2010, the grand opening of the first, I repeat, the first slavery memorial of its kind on federal property in the history of the United States of America. That's December 15, 2010. We were celebrating, popping bottles, champagne, everything. It's all over. Fast forward 15 years to January of 2025, when the guy in the White House issued some generic executive orders, basically anti-black stuff. That's January of 2025. Fast forward to March of 2025, where he issued an executive order saying, hey, I'm hearing about these federal sites throughout the country, and basically, in effect, he was saying it's too much black stuff, and the black stuff is, quote, inappropriately disparaging, unquote, American history. That's the phrase, inappropriately disparaging. That's March of 2025. And the final thing that leads us up to what you're talking about, Dr. Peterson, is, and this is where the scoop is about to come in, is in May of this year, where the guy in the White House had previously appointed a guy by the name of Doug Burgum. Doug Burgum is the Secretary of the Interior Department. It works like this. The Interior Department owns all the federal lands here in America. Beneath that is the National Park Service, a regional entity. And then locally in Philadelphia, you have the Independence National Historical Park. Those are the folks under a Republican administration. George Bush in 2002 gave the green light to this. You know, you'd never hear me celebrating George Bush, but I got to give him a nod there. There's a line that even he wouldn't cross.
Right.
He's like, okay, you black folks got this slavery stuff. I'm not going to be a cheerleader, but I'm not going to stand in your way. Everything was cool. And then we got to today, and the guy just mentioned Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum. Here's the scoop, Dr. Peterson, on your show. Will be here in Philadelphia at the President's House site, 10 a.m. tomorrow, 6 in Market, and Attack is organizing a silent vigil. We know that there's going to be some important law enforcement folks there. We're not trying to do that civil disobedience and get people locked up, because, you know, they will throw people in Guantanamo Bay or someplace now. And that's no joke anymore. Send them to El Salvador for all we know.
That's right.
So we're asking people to show up. We don't want any signs. We don't want any noise. We just want our bodies there. And in terms of the bodies, Attack has expanded since we were founded and did our thing from 2000 to 2010 with the grand opening. With this issue, I got to give our allies, Dr. Peterson, a big shout out. We got white folks. We got Asian folks. We got Jewish folks. We got Latino folks. We got architects. We got archaeologists. We got historians. There's a guy whose name I won't mention, a big-time Republican mover and shaker. He and I, Dr. Peterson, disagree on almost everything. We see eye to eye, and he's standing shoulder to shoulder with me on this issue. Now, we'll fight about some other stuff later, but this big-time Republican, white, middle-aged male is in lockstep with me on this. He said, look, Mike, I love America, but I understand that with them, this is him talking. But in order to really love America, you got to know America. You got to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. He said, I thought I loved my wife, and I told her before we got married, tell me everything. Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now once you tell me, I can honestly say, I know you, I love you, and they've been happily married. That same analogy applies to America. You got to really know it to love it. So I'm encouraging people, and I want to just make a couple quick points, encouraging people on Dr. James Peterson's show here in WRD, breaking news that Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum, appointed by the president, is going to be in Philadelphia tomorrow, Friday, September 19, 10 a.m. at 6th and Market. We're just asking black folks and other folks just to show up. Attack is going to make a presentation. Attack has a legal document that we submitted to the National Park Service, that we submitted to the Independent National Historical Park site, and we want to give that letter to Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum. So it's not going to be a big boisterous thing. It's going to be solemn. We're trying to save Black history at this site. And here's the thing very quickly, Dr. Peterson, people need to know that when Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum issued his directive on May 20 of this year, he targeted specifically Philadelphia and the President's House. And in particular, Dr. Peterson, not only did he target it, he pinpointed 13 specific items on the site. And here's the thing. Here's the common denominator of the 13 items that he has a problem with. They all highlight the horrors of slavery. So they go beyond just the loss of freedom. It talks about the beatings, the whippings, the lynchings, the rapes. It talks about the ugly, horrific side that America doesn't want to deal with. He wants to whitewash that. He wants to erase that. So as of that May 20 directive by the Interior Department Secretary, yesterday, Dr. Peterson, September 17 was supposed to be the deadline date. Yesterday was supposed to be the date that, at the very worst, the site was completely shut down. At the very least, those 13 items were going to be physically removed. There's panels going from the Market Street side down toward the Liberty Bell Center.
Mm-hmm.
Those panels could have just been ripped off, and all you see is an empty space right there. But here's the thing. You not only have the scoop about the event taking place tomorrow when he'll be here, but you also have the scoop that Attack is planning an action, and we encourage people to show up. We're going to publicize the letter that we sent to the National Park Service, the letter we sent to Independence National Park, but those are the regional and local entities. We want to go to the top man. That is Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum. So we're hoping, without anybody having confrontation and getting arrested, that we can present that to him. And very quickly, Dr. Peterson, for those who think that we are being alarmist and overly exaggerating, everybody's seeing that horrible photo by different names. It's either called the Scourge Back, called Gordon.
Gordon's back.
What has happened is, even before yesterday, the president and Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum removed the image of Gordon. Now, it's not clear from which federal site it was removed, but it's confirmed that it's gone. That could happen to the Slave Memorial at 6th and Market. So we're encouraging people, please join us tomorrow, Friday, September 19, 10 a.m., 6th and Market. We just need bodies there.
That's beautiful. Attorney Court, I don't think you're being alarmist at all. You all put in the work for this archival history, Black history, to be installed at this important site. I mean, we don't know how many hundreds of thousands of visitors come to this site every year from all over the world, by the way.
At least 1 million to 1.5 million each year.
About 1 million and 1.5 million each year. People need to understand there are lots of white folks in this country that don't know this history. There are a lot of people from all over the world. They don't know this history. To erase it, it's not just what's at stake for us in our community, because a lot of folks are like, we know this history. What is it? You know, we know this history. We know about Gordon's back. We know the history, even though I would say, Attorney Court, there are lots of folks in our community that don't really know this history as well. But for sites like this are for the entire world. And there are many people who come to these sites who have no idea that the first president of this United States, George Washington, was a slaver. They don't know that.
Amen. I love the way you broke it down, Dr. Peterson. You're wise beyond your years. I was interviewed at the site today, 6th and Market, by USA Today, at the same time as being interviewed by St. Joseph's Student Newspaper. And while I'm talking to them, you would have thought I was given a public forum. All the white tourists gathered around while I'm trying to give the interview to USA.
They thought you was a tour guide, Attorney Court? They thought you were the unofficial tour guide?
Not really, because I was just coming from court. I was looking like Johnny Cochran. So they didn't get that twisted. And by the way, a custom-made suit, but that's a whole other discussion. But it was really interesting because the white folks stopped, and I have to give them credit. Not only were they listening closely, but after the interview with the newspapers, they pulled me to the side. We exchanged numbers, email addresses. They agree that they are embarrassed by the history of slavery in America, but you can't lie about it. To a man and a woman and a child, the white folks I spoke to, they, of course, want to highlight the greatness of George Washington as a general. I said you can do that. The greatness of George Washington as the president. I said you can do that. But let me ask you this, folks. Can you be a great human being when you hold 316 fellow human beings in bondage? Every white person said, you're right. They said, tell the truth, tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And they all agreed that the guy in the White House, whose name I hate stating, that he's wrong on this. And they asked me, and I was really shocked and moved. Dr. Vince asked me, what can they do? I said, give me your number, and I'm connecting with them. Many of them are tourists. One as far as Alaska, another from California. They said, well, can we help? I said, yes, you can help. So when you talk about this being a kind of intraracial thing, a kind of rainbow coalition, that happened today, and it's happened each time over the last couple of weeks. So you're right on the money, Dr. Peterson.
Attorney Michael Coard, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to let us know about this. It's 10 a.m. at 6th and Market to join the Avenging the Ancestors Coalition for a silent protest. Interior Secretary Burgum will be on that site. Your idea is not to cause a whole lot of hay, but to make the presence known. And I hope folks will turn out for that tomorrow, Attorney Coard. That's 6th and Market Street at 10 a.m. On Friday, September 19th.
Absolutely. And very quickly, Dr. Peterson, one, thank you very much for allowing me to talk about this. And also thank you for having that widespread, massive audience you have and for getting the scoop. For more information, email attack, atac.avengingtheancestors@gmail.com, atac.avengingtheancestors@gmail.com, or call 215-552-8751, 215-552-8751. And folks who are listening, congratulate Dr. James Peterson for getting the international scoop about Interior Department Secretary Doug Burgum. Nobody else knew it. Now they're going to be repeating it.
Thank you, good brother. I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for joining us here on Evening Words.
You're checking out The Week on Word.
Hi, I'm comedian Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy, and you're listening to Word Radio.
Word has always been a platform for Black people in Philadelphia.
We are giving voice to the community, and without the community, there will be no word. We are one and the same, and it is not a game. WURD.
Progressive Black Talk Media.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Week on Word. Let's stay connected. Sign up for our newsletter and listen to us online at wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.